Good morning, everybody, everybody, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Pastor Williams, your boy Milt Williams, coming to you from Penn Ave, Baltimore, Maryland. You know, we call it Charm City up here. Hope all are well. Praise the Lord. We are back. Absolutely. We're back. Indeed, with our coffee and conversation. As you guys are coming on this morning, we want to say good morning. And I'm joined with by my mother this morning, who's the co-host, who runs the show, who's the head queen, who's large and in charge. Praise the Lord. She is in. Say good morning, Mom.
Good morning, Pastor, with all of your accolades. Makes me feel great this morning. Thank you.
Wonderful. Praise the Lord. I'm feeling good. I hope everybody else is feeling good.
Sounds good.
Absolutely. I'm charged. I'm hyped. I was on the way driving here, Mom, in my car. It's a little wet outside, but I had on my Black History playlist and I was rocking out. First, I heard my man, Martin Luther King, put it down with the I Have a Dream speech. He was killing it. Talk about rising to the occasion. That guy was major. Then we backed it up with, and if we had the rights to some of this music, our show would be awesome because we come out the box with Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud with the Prophet James Brown. I was in there showing that. I know people in traffic were like, man, this brother is tripping. But I was like, yes, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. And in
that's
fact,
what our songs do to you. It makes
that's right. Exactly. So as you guys are coming on this morning, go ahead and put that in the comment section. Say good morning, hashtag I'm Black and I'm proud. Absolutely. So and then we went to Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. Wake up, everybody.
Yes.
I'm rocking out to that. So it's a good day here in Baltimore. I'm super hyped to be back with the Coffee and Conversation, Freedom Talk from the Avenue. It's an opportunity for those of you guys who don't know, and as you're coming on, please help us by sharing this on your page. If you are viewing this on YouTube Live, or if you want to view it on YouTube Live, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Praise the Lord. And even if I think we're rocking on Periscope as well this morning. But yes, we are glad to be in the house of the Lord to talk a little freedom talk this morning, Mom. And our subject this morning is we're dealing with the 1619 project. Absolutely. So it's going to be major today. And as is typical, well, not so typical, we sometimes we wait a little later in the show to bring our guests in, but I'm really hyped this morning. We want to kind of get the conversation flowing. We may not be able to stay in here for the full time that we typically might. We got a lot going on this Saturday. Baltimore District is having its Christian education convocation. I'm going to have to pop into that, of course, definitely supporting our district. Awesome leadership from our presiding elder. But these Saturdays are so valuable. They're so few and far between as it relates to programming. So we're going to step into that. But we did want to get our coffee and conversation back flowing. And we're dealing with the 1619 project this morning. Come on and let some folks say good morning, sister producer. We need to shout some folk out as we're getting on. And so we're going to do that. But while you guys are coming on, and as we say good morning to some folk, absolutely. I love it, Sister Addison. I know that's right. Black and proud. I'm feeling you. And good morning, my dear Dr. Dolan Hubbard. We continue to lift you up in prayer, my brother. But good to see you on the I was about to call it the love stream. That's what we call our Sunday service. But good to see you in the house. So without further ado, Mom, we got an awesome show this morning, right? Share with us how awesome it's going to be. I want to hear your voice.
Well, it's going to be like one of our greatest, because we have this young lady, Nicole Hannah-Jones, who writes for the New York Times, who has had the audacity to tell the truth about American history and the forming of our democracy. She's gotten some pushback on it, but she's still telling the truth. And sometimes people can't stand to hear the truth about what they have done. And so we're very proud to be able to support that young lady this morning and to bring on the wonderful discussion that we're going to have regarding the founding of America and its democracy.
Absolutely. I love it. Good morning, Dr. Bird. Good to see you, my dear brother, checking in all the way from up top in New York City. From the mother church of our denomination. Glad you stepped in for a moment, my dear good brother. Brother Fisher, good to see you always. Hey, Parsha, good morning to you. Yes, beautiful people. I love it. Good morning. Sister Rivera, absolutely. Glad you're black and proud too. Sister Marie Henson, yes, one of our pillars of Penn Ave. Glad you were in the house this morning as well. Sheila Hanson, that's my friend right there. She is so joyful every morning. She sends me a powerful message to get my day started. So I love it, and I thank God for her. Dondra Spoil Rotten Harper. That's what I love, that handle, Spoil Rotten. And my dear brother Kelton Addison, one of my armor bearers, takes care of me, make sure I'm good. So Mom, as you know, we always, when we come on the show, hey, Brother Barnett, God bless you. We always set it off by the namesake of the show, coffee and conversation. I'm in the coffee. You can probably tell I've had a little bit of coffee this morning.
Yeah, and I can tell it's Starbucks. And I can tell you got espresso in it too.
Yeah, you know, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. I got very little sleep because I love doing this show. So I'm up all throughout the night prepping, and probably got a couple hours, but I'm good until I crash probably in an hour or so. But nonetheless, we in the house and we're feeling good. And so we always talk about what we're drinking and what we're drinking out of. And so I'm going to set it off today, letting everybody know I'm coming to you guys with a new mug. This is new to the family, new to the stable of my mugs. And this one is fresh out the box, a new Black Lives Matter joint, officially off this website. I love it. And I'm drinking for Black History Month. And it does happen to be Starbucks. So don't crucify me, because typically I would be drinking a black owned blend. But on today, I'm hitting you up with the Madagascar vanilla flavor, which has double the caffeine. So that might explain why I'm so hyped. So anyway, that's what I'm coming at you with this morning. Mom, what you working with?
I'm working with breakfast blend from Starbucks, and I'm using again one of my old cups that was given to me by one of the members of the church where my husband pastored in the 60s, and she had been saving cups since 1942. I don't think that one is this. This one is that old, but it's one of the collection that she gave to me, and I'm very, very proud to be using this cup because Black History Month makes me remember her as a great woman of God. So I'm enjoying it.
I love it. Awesome. All right. So without further ado, we're talking about the 1619 project this morning. Glad to see folks are still coming on. Like I said, please share this on your timeline. Please share this with your Facebook friends because this is critical, guys. This is so important. This show is not just about trying to fill up some Saturday morning content. We're trying to empower the people. And our bishop often says it, and it's so true, confirming kind of how I was raised up in this whole thing. But he talks about how readers are leaders. And if you're not reading, if you're not up on your intellectual, hunger and thirst, if you're not trying to feed your mind, if you're not learning about the things that you don't know about, and if you're not being able to have your brain deal with some of the things we're going through, and not hearing from scholars on subjects, if you're not dealing with historians, if you're not, you can't. I don't know how you can preach in 2021 if you are not paying attention to what's going on in the world. And there's so many awesome writers and historians who are bringing us so many important things. So that's why this is critical. And we always want to expose you guys to things that we want you to be reading, things we're reading on the avenue, but things that'll bless you. So we're dealing with, again, the 1619 project today, which is, and we'll get into it a little bit more clearly, but it's a collection of essays that were developed by Sister Nicole Hannah-Jones. And we'll get into more talking about that in a little bit later. But I do want to bring, right on the top of the show, like I said, typically we might wait a little while for this, but I want to bring in our guests early. So coming to us this morning, just joining us, is going to be a major day. I'm so happy to have with us my father in the ministry, Dr. Farad Masael, who pastors the Galbraith Church in Washington, D.C. I'm telling you, the circle is so awesome and amazing how God does it all. But Dr. Farad, who was my dad was his father in the ministry when I was coming up, and so as most young people can get a little bit frustrated and irritated about kind of the plight of our people, especially if you're paying any attention, and then kind of raised up to kind of look at religion and your faith in a certain kind of way without or just, without an emphasis on certain parts of it. You can find yourself a little bewildered, so to speak. So my dad kind of guided me towards Reverend Massey at the time, who really just blessed me and allowed me to grow into an understanding of the Black presence in the Bible, to understand the relevance that's found in the story of our people, found all throughout the scriptures. In fact, you could basically call your Bible a Black history book. But yeah, so he shed that light on me. So when I got in college, and it's crazy, I went to college in Baltimore. Some may know that, but I went to school at Loyola University, played a little ball there. And ironically, I did not attend Pennsylvania Avenue Church when I was in college, just because I didn't have any issues with Penn Ave or anything like that. But I was just so into that whole understanding of Black awareness, Afrocentricity, all those things. And Dr. Massey Dr. Farad was putting all of that down in DC. So I would drive there. He taught me. We sat around his table, me and a few of my other friends, and we learned about the Word of God and our presence in the Scripture. And so we were doing a 1619 project in Black History Month. This fourth Saturday in Black History Month to really shed some light on issues that have to do with our people. And I was like, that I gotta have on this show my man, my mentor, my father in the ministry to help us understand a little more deeply about our presence in America. I mean, if we wanted to go all the way back, he would kill us today. We wouldn't be able to maintain ourselves. But we're going to bring him on. I'm talking too much already. The producer's saying, wrap it up. Let's move on. And so we're going to bring him on. But Mom, you want to say anything about Dr. Farad? Because, you know, he was in that tender age when you and Dad was kind of shepherding him along the way. So you got any personal sentiments you want to lift up about Dr. Massey? Dr. Farad?
I'll never forget the first time I saw him. He was coming across the street. We were in Porter Avenue, Shaw Memorial Church, and it was a big wide street. And I looked up and I saw this elderly gentleman with a hat on and everything, and a young man with him, and who was his son. And he came to our church and he said to my husband that, you know, we've been around and we've talked to a lot of preachers, but I'm putting him in your care. And at that moment, Frederick, when he was Fred then, I called him Fred. He became a part of our congregation, a part of our church, a part of the family, and so on. But that's the first time I saw him. He was searching then for knowledge, and he's always been that way. So it was a joy to see him as a young man develop, lead by church, go on to college and divinity school, and spreading knowledge everywhere he went. And so it's just been a joy to know him and his family.
Awesome. Very good. All right. So you see him on the screen. This is my guy. Rod, go ahead and greet us this morning. How are you doing? Come on, share with us just your just where you are in your spirit this morning. Along with that, we want to know what you working with. What because we getting woke together. Literally by what we're drinking in terms of the coffee, if that's what you're on. Figuratively as it relates to the subject matter that we'll be dealing with. So, Dr. Farad, what's up, man?
I'm so pumped up. I'm just, you have to give me a warning. Just the mere fact that I'm sitting here listening to you, Pastor Milk, and seeing my mother in the ministry, it has me spellbound. And you all were so very kind in telling the people about me. You didn't really want to say that I was like a basket case. It would have been the truth. I had just gone through the same thing that this young man said he went through, and started about 15. I won't tell that whole story, but this lady threw on the table in the library The Life and Times of Frederick Douglass. I was reading the Jet and the Ebony, and 10 years later, she walked up to Shaw Memorial Church. She said, "Where's my book?" She was the librarian. I said, "Book?" And then, of course, it was Reverend Lewis's mother, Mother Lewis. But when I came across that street, that changed my life. I shall never forget it. And, Bishop Milton Williams, who was presiding elder Williams at that time, really took the time to take me into his heart. He trusted me. He took me everywhere. He taught me how to drive a straight drive on the throughway. And I'm a little tired. I'm gonna let you take it, brother. Oh, you can do it. Just put your foot on this one right here, and then you let up, and then you go. And I started, and that's how I learned how to drive a straight. It gave me more confidence in myself. that I never dreamed that I could have gotten. I was deflated. All right, enough about me. But I wanted to say that to say how thankful I am to be present, and to my beloved son in the ministry. I am on from the Golden Cup, Buffalo, New York, Jamaican me crazy. The best coffee in the world, the only coffee I drink.
Okay.
When you read it, and you all can call me Fred or Farad. I mean, you don't have to keep with all these different names. I'm all of those names. I didn't change it, I added. So Rose and I went to this little coffee shop, and we thought it was nothing. No sugar on the table, no cream. We had to go get our own cream. But I noticed some Europeans kept coming in there, and they kept asking them, "What do you have back there today?" You didn't name something, you go back. So when I went to pay for it, long story short, I said, "What do you have back there?" He said, "Well, what do you want?" I said, "I don't know what you sell back there." So he told me, and he began telling me about his coffee. He said, "You don't like coffee, do you?" I said, "I love coffee. I drink coffee every day." He said, "But you don't drink coffee. I saw you put milk in it, whatever that was, cream. I saw you put sugar in it." I said, "Yeah." He said, "No, you drink coffee black. You drink it straight if you like the coffee." Long story short, he started talking. He said, "Y'all really want to hear this?" I said, "I am all ears." He said, "Come back here." Took me in the back. He has his own roastery. He has his own factory. One little man, one little house. And he impressed us. 2.5 hours later, I told him, "I vow now to you before God that all things considered, I will buy no coffee from anyone else but this black man on 1323 Jefferson Avenue, Buffalo, New York." I said, "You should tell the ministers." He said, "I tried telling the ministers, but they won't listen." I said, "If my pastor was living," and I started talking about Bishop Williams, I said, "He was the presiding elder." I said, "And my nephew's the presiding elder." I said, "But I can't tell him what to do." Long story short, I told my nephew about it. He went into the place, and the first thing he said was, "Coach." And the man said, "Holloway?" Presiding elder Holloway. So the rest is history. I am drinking it out of this cup.
Right.
I love this coffee. I'm drinking it black.
Wonderful.
This cup is 47 years old.
Wow. Older than me.
Part of a set that was organized and given to us by all the members of Shaw, by none other than Reverend Lula G. Williams. So I'm drinking it in honor of you today as a strong pioneer black woman who has made your mark in history.
Awesome. I love it.
Thank you.
That is so awesome. Great stuff. Great texture. Great in energy. Thank you, Dr. Farad, Fred, Massey, Masa, L, all that. We don't amen. I love it. now we contrary to what you guys might be viewing as you're watching us, and we see you guys commenting and we loving it. Praise the Lord. Good morning, my sister Janice Brian Vega. Hey, sister Nancy Maddox. Wonderful. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Now, again, contrary to what you may think, this is not just a show to talk about coffee and cups. But we want to do that because we just want to loosen everybody up. But this next brother I'm going to bring on, woo, and talk about being blessed. This brother coming from New Jersey. I've been pastored here about 3 going on 4 years. My dear brother, I came to know him firstly through his sister, Bible study. We'd be teaching Bible study. His sister Wanda Kelly, we'd be in Bible study, and she would say, "You got to meet my brother. He's gonna be moving this way soon." And I would hear that, and how wonderful, great, I can't wait, fantastic, all that. And little did I know, and shout out to Dr. Miller, who was his previous pastor up there in New Jersey when he decided to come this way. Shout out to her, and we are prayerful for her as she has aspirations to serve the church on the Episcopal level. But I got to tell you, their loss was our absolute gain. This brother right here, woo, the more I find out about him, the more I am excited, because he is a talented brother that's bringing so much to the table. He's going to be a blessing to our church. And so this brother has worked in civil rights. This brother's been on TV. I'm looking at his Facebook page. I'm seeing pics with him and Chris Matthews, some hardball on the set, on TV. I'm like, you're the real deal. I mean, I'm seeing this brother with icons and Barack Obama. He just chilling with Barack Obama like they homeboys. Like, this dude is at my church. So this is the caliber. Now he's working at Morgan State now, and he's gonna help our city, Baltimore, through Penn Ave, do some major stuff in the city. And I'm so excited to bring him on. We had to have him as well, again, because he is so schooled, so deeply rooted in our struggle and our plight as a people. And he's going to be our layperson, if you will, contributor today. So we try to kind of bounce it out. We got Dr. Farad, who brings us a clergy, theological kind of perspective. Then you got Dr. Fields, who's going to bless us with kind of a layperson, but yet in the midst of all of it, perspective. And then we're going to bounce it all out that way. So without further ado, my dear brother, Walter Fields, come on, bring him in the show. Show him some love in the comment section. This is my guy. He's our Iota Phi Theta. We're not going to hold that against him. We're not going to ban him from the show because Rod, you know how we flow over here, but we're gonna let him have a little spot on this show. All right, I believe in even though he made a bad choice, he gonna bless us on today. I'm just giving him.
Well, Pastor, it's not who's first, who's last. So let's be real.
Some kind of way, man. You quick. I knew you'd do that. So go ahead and greet us this morning, my dear brother.
Oh, I
know what you're drinking, all that good stuff.
I am so happy to be here. Look, this conversation fits into my life narrative. I have been in love with the history of Black people since I was a child. In 1967, a book was published, The Negro Almanac. And in my elementary school, I was the only student who was taking that book out of the library. In fact, I took it out so much that the librarian called my mother and said, "You need to buy your son this book because he's the only one to." So that was my Christmas gift that year, the Negro Almanac. And combined with that reading and the fact that my godmother took me to the Schomburg Center in Harlem when I was 6 years old.
Oh my God.
I just fell in love with the history of our people. So when I got this invitation, I was like, I'm in. I'm in, and now I'm all hyped because Reverend started the morning with James Brown, and I'm like, okay, are we going there with it? Then I'm ready. But I'm drinking a little breakfast blend this morning out of my Iota Phi Theta mug, and I'm using this mug this morning in honor of one of our founders who passed away this past week, Honorable Founder Frank B. Coakley, who was also president of the Morgan State University Foundation, and Morgan State is my alma mater, so I have to rep not only Morgan, but Iota Phi Theta. So I am really excited, and I'm really excited to be back at Penn Ave. Came to Penn Ave when I was an 18-year-old undergraduate at Morgan State. My Aunt Jennifer Bennett was a longtime member, and so coming back to Penn Ave is sort of a homecoming. And I'm really excited by Pastor, despite his fraternity affiliation, and Reverend Lula, and it's great to meet Dr. Masa El. So I'm looking forward to this conversation this morning so we can enlighten some folks about this 1619 project.
Absolutely. Thank you, my dear brother. All right. I don't know if you saw Dr. Farad. Jermaine shouted you out, showed you some love, bless you, Uncle Fred, all that good stuff. Absolutely. So yeah, we in the house, baby. We out here. So all right. Let's jump into this discussion because that's what it is. We just having some coffee. We talking about our people. We're talking about our history, and we're dealing with it through this 1619 project. Now we were going to have another guest, and I'll just shout this out real quick because after Dr. Farad kind of brought me up and kind of set me on fire, and then I went to seminary. I went to seminary in Salisbury, which is very close to Charlotte. And when I was there, he kind of handed me off to his homeboy, his road dog, his right-hand man, Dr. Sheldon Shipman. Now, he was going to be on this morning, but as is sometimes the case, in this thing called ministry. Things happen. You have congregational needs that you have to address. And our prayers go out to him and the Greenville church family. My understanding is that they had a death and he had to see to that whole situation. So he was going to be on, but guess what? The 1619 project is about 14 essays. So we're going to have some time to have my brother on. But if he had been here, whoo, I mean, I don't think I would have been able to take it. So it might be good that we had to turn it down a little bit because we'd have stayed there all day. But nonetheless, all right, 1619 project, guys, is what we're dealing with. We're going to deal with the first essay today, which is the introduction, kind of gives a synopsis of the whole thing from Sister Nicole Hannah-Jones. Now, the 1619 project, if you are not aware, all you good people out there listening, the idea of it is that it challenges us to reframe U.S. history, which is in and of itself a major thing to do, because this country, what it kind of is, the huge thing that it is, anytime you begin to mess with the narrative of that, now you're in the line of fire. Now you are threatening the whole power structure, the whole system, the whole house of cards, if you will, are at risk when people begin to challenge the very inception of something that certain people have such a interest in it going one certain type of way and only one story being told. And it's funny, the phrase says it's not so fun when the rabbit has the gun. The thing about how that fits into this analogy is, in other words, you feel threatened when the tables are turned. So the story of America has always been told from the perspective of, if you will, the oppressor or the dominant society. The 1619 project chooses and takes the approach of telling the story of slavery and America from the perspective of those who are at the center of it, which is African people. And so reframing that by marking the year when the first enslaved Africans arrived on Virginia soil as our nation's foundational date. So that's 1619. Now in 2019, which a couple of years ago, that was the 400-year anniversary of that. And so this project was developed in line with that whole thing. And so the 1619 project, again, is long form journalism. And it was published in the New York Magazine. Now, let me tell you what you need to do, because again, we're trying to empower you. We want you to, if you don't have these documents and books, you need to get them. Dr. Fields talked about the Black Almanac. You don't have that, you need to get that. If you don't have the 1619 project, you need to get online, order this right now. Not much, they'll send it to you, really nice wrapping and all that good stuff. It will come with a paper that also talks about in depth some more parts of our story. Really cool layout. We've got to tell the unvarnished truth. So it's going to come with that. So you need to get that in your library. Also, now why this is important, because Sister Nicole Hannah-Jones, when she was in high school, she tells a story. She was touched because I think she only maybe had 2 Black folk in her class. She grew up in the Midwest, and she the teacher had to try to teach them, African history, African American history, the whole story of slavery and our people, crunching it down into, how they try to do it, not really giving it the attention it deserves. But anyhow, a date stuck in her mind, which was 1619. Her teacher put her onto this book, which if you don't have, this is one of the foundational books that you need to be having in your library, which is Before the Mayflower by Lerone Bennett. And 1619 was the date that he used that, society just kind of moved right on by that to get to 1776. But he made the point of saying, we came here 1619 is African slaves, 20 or so. But you could even go back further than that. Of course, Ivan Van Sertima with Before the Mayflower. You'll see the African presence of us here well long before all of that. Christopher Columbus was lost. He had no clue what he was doing. And we were already here trading and marrying and intermarrying and involving ourselves with folk here in what was before even America became America. So anyhow, won't get into that, but that's another book you need to get. The point is that this project was developed by Sister Jones from the New York Times and the New York Times Magazine, which aims again to reframe country's history by placing consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black Americans at the very center of the United States national narrative. So the project was first published, again, New York Times Magazine, August 2019. Project creator Nicole Anna Jones, she was awarded the Pulitzer 2020. Also, you need to go to the PulitzerCenter.com for all of some of the research that goes behind this. They partnered with this whole group. So anyhow, here we are. Now, like we said, it's about 14 different essays. One deals with America wasn't a democracy until Black Americans made it so. That's also by her. Another one gets into American capitalism and why it's so brutal and how you can trace that to the plantation. She gets in another writer that talks about that. Another one talks about how false beliefs in physical racial difference still live in medicine today. So she deals with healthcare. And how so often Black folk are misdiagnosed, and I have a personal stories that I can share about that, and many others do as well. Why we get treated late and poorly, and how they feel like our threshold for pain is so much greater than everybody else's, and the horrific experiments that were tried on Black folk in the name of science, slaves without permission or anything like that. You've heard the horror stories, which is one of the reasons why there's such a reluctance, or in some communities, to deal with this whole vaccine thing. But nonetheless, she deals with medicine. Got another article that deals with Black music and how dominant culture steals that, deals with the whole minstrel shows and all that kind of thing. Then she deals with even traffic patterns and why communities are uprooted and highways come through places where folk live, deals with traffic patterns. You would and so she talks about how slavery has something to do with all of these parts of our world. And America's going to have to reckon with this if it's ever going to be what it could be. And that's the sad thing about it. Talks about why we don't have universal health care. That was because when we got freed out of slavery, they didn't give us nothing. Half of us were sick and hurting and didn't have anything. And then when we wanted to get well, then they shut down any things to help us get well and all those kind of things. So that's one of the reasons why universal health care isn't a big thing in the larger society. Or why some people fight against it so much is because anything that looks to benefit what would be looked at as the minority in society, they don't want to do that. And then you got prisons, of course. So that's where we are now. Talks about sugar, plantations, and even the vast wealth gap. So here we are today dealing with the first introduction article, talked about the idea of America. Now, Ma, help me out with this. Why do you think she names, and we'll go around on this one. Why do you think she names the name or calls the article the idea of America? Why do you think that she comes to it from that kind of that topic kind of says something? What does it say to you about that?
Well, it says to me that it was the idea of America because it wasn't really America wasn't founded on, well, they tried to make it so that it was founded on great principles and Thomas Jefferson and writing the first documents that we had, all men are created equal and so on. And even as he was writing that document, he had a slave with him that was his brother-in-law, and somehow there was a mixture of the races, and not only with Thomas Jefferson, but with his ancestors. And so as he was writing about all men are created equal, he had such a hard time writing that document because he knew what he was writing was not what was true and what was going to be true. He knew what he was writing would not have anything to do with the people that looked like the young man that he had with him. So he had an idea of what it should be, but that was not what meant the document. That is not what the document would cover, because America wasn't ready to deal with what they call the problem of in America. They were not ready to deal with black people in America. So they wrote it as if they were including everybody, but it was not including everyone. So it's just an idea of what could be, what they wanted to appear to be, but it wasn't that at all when it was written.
Absolutely. Yeah. So she in fact, she says this, the United States is a nation founded on both an ideal and a lie.
Absolutely. Yes.
It says our Declaration of Independence, signed on July 4th, 1776, proclaims that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. But the white men who drafted those words did not believe them to be true. Did not believe them to be true for hundreds of thousands of black people in their midst. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness did not apply fully to 1/5 of the country. And so while they're writing these high sounding documents, at the very moment they're enslaving people, as they talk about liberty, as Thomas Jefferson is penning the Constitution, he's doing so with slaves seeing to his every beck and call on his plantation, or what Sister Jones calls the forced labor camps. So nonetheless, not on the other side of that, Dr. Massey, speak to that. How does that strike you, this whole ideal of America and its founding?
I concur. I'm looking at it from a different backdrop, if you don't mind.
I figured you would.
Okay, I'm not going to.
I knew you would bring some depth to it. I love it.
I want to try to stay in step. I don't want to be controversial. I want you to invite me back one day, after you let others come in. But we have to keep in mind, several things should come to mind. We should ask, 1619, 20
right.
to 30 slaves as our origin. How then, by the time we were set free, 1865, so to speak, how can this group, y'all got to talk to me about that, produce 4 million people? Wait now, how can this group produce 4 million black people? I know you say the ships kept going and coming and going and coming 30 trillion times. Where are they? How did they stop? How can such a ship do that with a sail? It has to be re-examined. We have to come to know that it didn't start in 1619. That's when they made a premise.
Okay.
That's shooting them in the foot right now. Because there was a war here for centuries after Columbus discovered America.
Mm-hmm.
Columbus did discover America. Mm-hmm. I used to go around the country preaching that he did not. Upon a little further research, I discovered that he discovered America after having researched the doctrine of discovery.
Right.
1493 says that he could go everywhere where there are people who were not Christian, slaughter them and take the land, Christianize them or slaughter them and take the land. So that gave you rise for 2 centuries thereabout of the history that we will never get. What about the Great Dismal Swamp? How come we're not talking about the Great Dismal Swamp? The Great Dismal Swamp took up area from Chesapeake, Virginia, all the way down to Winston-Salem. Nothing but swamp. And if you went in there as an enemy, you never came out. You talk about Nat Turner, whose name was Nathan Turner Call, went into the swamp to take weapons and ammunition. He was not a slave. His mother was a school teacher. He was a revolutionary, fighting these forces, stopping them from setting up this trick world, enslaving us, enslaving free people through legislation, and they're doing it right now.
That's right.
Again.
No, you're right.
Again.
That's
and
right.
We're watching them in
That's right.
Congress doing it right now, same way.
Right now.
It would not be a shock in 3 months you will start seeing people legislated into slavery.
My.
I get ahead of myself, but that great dismal swamp, how did you feel when you come out the wilderness?
Oh,
That's where that came from, leaning on. I felt like shouting. This was war. Nat Turner was a murderer. He'd go in there, he'd kill the women, the children, he'd take the weapons. They were at war. And they understood that they were at war. John Horse. How come we don't talk about John Horse? They tricked him into going all the way out into the Midwest. And the only survival for him was that the Mexicans said to John Horse and his group, if you come over here, we'll let you have some land. He said you would. He said, yeah. Only thing, don't let them come over here. John Horse said, we got to deal. Why don't we discuss that? That is a part of our narrative. Harriet Tubman led slaves to the north, following the North. Not all of them. What about those who went south and set up Georgia? Those who went south and set up Florida were in connection with the Spanish army. So I'm saying to you, yes, 1619 project is a great project, because were it not, perhaps we would not be having this conversation. And it is a conversation to be had. I'll just stop.
I love it. So when Dr. Farad talks, firstly, he's always going to blow your mind with, he's going to hit you in the head with something that you ain't really on. But he going to also, if you saw my face, he's going to give you this, make the stank face. When the truth he be dropping, make you look ugly. You make it makes you gotta look at it.
I can't apologize.
I love it. It affects your demeanor because it just is coming at you so heavy. So I love that. Oh, I mean that's so rich for our conversation. So Dr. Fields, check this out now. Now Hannah Jones picking up on what Dr. Massey breaks down. She comes out the box. She comes out swinging, and she's arguing the premise that our founding ideals of liberty and equality were false when they were written. Black Americans fought to make them true. Without this struggle, America would have no democracy at all, she argues. And so when you talk about that and you think about how even in the beginning of this article, she talks about her father's, she shares an anecdote of her father and the American flag, and he's a veteran, and their houses in tatters, and so many, they don't have much money, struggling to make it through, but he had been treated very poorly as an American, discharged from the army and working odd jobs here and there to try to make ends meet and all that good stuff. America had, in certain ways, not been kind to them, but he still flew that American flag on his front stoop, and in any time it looked tattered, he'd replace it. He had pride in that flag, and she was irritated by that. That bothered her, because she was like, "Why are you flying this flag?" Which is why I have on this "I Too Sing America" Langston Hughes kind of T-shirt to kind of recognize that. But she's like, "Why are you flying this flag when these white folk are giving us hell? They're tearing up everything. Why are you flying this flag?" And so I want you to pick up on that, Dr. Fields, that whole concept of why would her father, who is catching hell in America, like so many still are today, and as Dr. Massey talks about, are still through legislation being in certain ways placed on the auction block, if you will, and going to be moved into areas of servitude and forced labor, and all the things that were happening then are going to be rebooted, because that's what America does. Racism is durable, and it just kind of repackages itself and morphs into something else and turns out another way. Help us understand why this brother, her dad, would keep flying that flag, even with the sentiments of America that had broken his heart so badly. Go ahead.
Well, absolutely. And first, it's not Dr. Fields. I'm one step away from that.
I'm calling you doctor. I'm speaking, brother.
but here's the thing. So, black folks are more American than any Americans.
Mm.
We are the true Americans.
Mm.
And so, when you think about our history, you know, when you look at the Declaration of Independence, which was a political statement, that's all the Declaration of Independence was. It was a political statement, mostly meant to embarrass England. To really throw it back in England's face that we're taking your land, we're not paying your taxes, and we're going to declare ourselves an independent country. So these men never had any intention of including us in a long-term narrative of this country. So 1619 is truly the start date of the real America. And so when people start talking about the idea of America, conceptually, America represented a different possibility for human rights. If you read the documents, it suggests a nation in which all men were going to be created equal. Now, those folks in Philadelphia had no intention of making that happen because we were their property. We were going to build the land. We were going to create their wealth, but we were never intended to be part of this country. And so Nicole Hannah-Jones, her anger at her father was because her father understood that what really made America was our struggle. Black people, through our struggle, have made what they claim to have been America real. We have opened the doorway for other groups to receive the rights that were so detailed in all of those documents. So we need to understand that 1619 represents the day when the real idea of America was beginning to take hold, because the people who were brought here were going to make it real. We're the ones who built the country. We're the ones who generated the wealth for the country. We're the ones who showed the country what it meant to be inclusive, because every battle we fought, America became a little bit more inclusive. So as we read through this 1619 project, which, by the way, people need to really understand the significance of this work. This is the New York Times. This is the establishment newspaper in the United States of America, which gave her the green light to do this project, because they understood that the accepted narrative of America was a lie. It's always been a lie. What the 1619 project does, it resets the narrative, and it puts black people directly in the center of it. We were always a footnote, but now we're the body of the work. And so I think that's important for us to understand, that what this project really does, it reframes the whole narrative of our existence in this country, and why this country wouldn't even be what it is today had it not been for us.
I love it. That's so powerful. Everybody kind of, when you said that, you know, America, like we the most American of everybody, everybody just threw up their hand like, exactly. That's exactly right. This is our thing. Y'all don't even believe in what y'all are talking about, which is why, and I'm gonna throw this out here, Mom. I want you to respond to this. But the January 6th riot, you know what I mean? The storming of the Capitol. We about to probably get a little heavier, and might go in, and who knows where we're gonna flow to when we throw this out here. But so when they're filled with so much anger, and they're so upset, and they're willing to overturn and overrun the so-called citadel of democracy, what's that about? Because you hear on the news, it's an affront, it's an attack on democracy. I believe, and I'm gonna throw this out here, that the riot was an example of how many people in this country, which is why there's half of the country that's not even really that upset about it, and really is kind of like, let's keep it moving. It is what it is. And the other side is kind of using it, I think, somewhat as a political tool to make hay for their agenda. But nonetheless, the riot's an example, I believe, in this country. For all the flag waving and all of the Star Spangled Banner singing and all the talk of Constitution, they do not truly believe in democracy. So when they're overrunning, they're actually fighting for an authoritarian, almost dictator style form of governing where they're in control. They did not believe in democracy from the beginning. They believed in being in control, and they messed around and brought and included some Africans and black folk in this thing who actually believe in life and liberty in the pursuit of happiness, who actually believe in an inclusive world, who actually believe in all of the stuff that they were just talking about. So, Ma, speak on that, and then I want, after you go, I want to hear Dr. Massey kind of speak to the whole way that the January 6th riots, the anger, the white supremacists, the far right, all of that, Republicans, if you will, and even those who don't maybe call themselves that, but have those so-called ideologies. Speak to how that kind of has to do with this whole reframing of this conversation around slavery.
Well, I think it speaks to the fact that there is a resentment to the audacity of black folk and minorities to want to have a voice and to speak in this country, because it amazes me that they would be so mad and so upset that you would wind up fighting each other over it. People that don't really want to be governed by laws or any of that, they are giving themselves over to lies and anything to keep them from facing the fact that we've got to do something, or these minorities are going to have a voice in what this country is going to look like. We like it like it is. We like this white supremacy. We like this one man trying to take over. We like this lies. We like these conspiracy theories. We can live on this, but we cannot face the truth. So we are going to tear up everything rather than try to do what Martin Luther King said a long time ago. He said, black folk are going to redeem America. And I feel like that the struggles that we have had and other minorities have given us the strength, the insight, the faith in God to believe that America, to force America to do what it said it was going to do, which it never intended to do. And so we have this struggle going on between the Republicans Party. You can look at it; it's all split up because there seems to be none of them seem to be serious about what they're doing. They just seem to be playing games. Because if you look at that CPAC thing at all, nobody is talking about policy. Nobody's talking about anything that's going to improve anything. All the speeches have to do with honoring this one person and keeping this lie alive. So it seems to be that if you're going to try to force us to do what's right, we have to find a way to continue to exclude you, because that's not what we intend to do. We intend to have it all, and we don't intend for you to have any of it. And so I think that's part of what's going on with these Proud Boys and all these folk, and this Ku Klux Klan revival in the open, and all of that is because black folk and others are finding their voice, and there's not any intention that anybody wants that.
I love it. It's like, and to your point, I love how Eddie Glaude talks about it, Dr. Eddie Glaude. He talks about Trump and Trumpism, and how Trump is kind of the figurehead, or who they can rally behind, the object that they can look at. But that energy that's driving that, it's not necessarily about Trump. He's kind of has been the most vitriolic, kind of in your face, abrasive, person is saying out loud all of the stuff that they say privately that, you know, that some of the other folk are too so-called, you know, I guess refined to get into. But he says out loud what they really believe. And so, as Dr. Massey said, this whole thing started, this is war-like posturing. They came to the Capitol armed. They had bombs. They you know, they if they could have brought the AR-15s and the guns, they would have came that way. You know, so this violence. People died. This violence that comes out of that whole thing. There's this whole energy in our country. I think you're right, Mom. It's a clashing now because generations are rising up and are saying, you know what, this whole kind of thing that y'all kind of try to pull over our eyes, this whole thing that y'all tried to make us kind of buy into, it's falling apart. This whole thing you tried to sell us on, we're seeing beyond it. They said the emperor has no clothes. We're seeing that it was all a sham, and now you got to reckon with that because we're not just going to go away silently. So, Dr. Massey, speak on the riot piece of it, this energy in the country right now, this out and out kind of attack. Because Mom is right, CPAC is like they're like rallying the troops. They're doubling down on this. They're not doing any type of autopsy on why they lost. They're ready, and somebody put in the comment section, they're ready to get back at it according to the same kind of ideology to really do this thing even better. And imagine if somebody not so clumsy at it is in charge like Trump, but is actually more nuanced and a little bit more smooth with it, like the Josh Hollies of the world, who may look a little different, be a little bit more palatable. This whole country, you saw how easily it could be changed in a day. And so, Dr. Massey, speak on that.
You've done so well, and your mother as well have done so well on it. Listen, let me just say this. The people who stormed the United States Capitol, they are Americans, but they are not America. Because we started this discussion saying that America is an idea. And that does not fit the idea of America.
Right.
Donald Trump is their leader because he stood in the United Nations building before the United Nations, and he said clearly they had globalism on one side, nationalism on another side. He said clearly, I am a nationalist. That does not mean he's a white nationalist, even though he's white. He says, I am a nationalist. So the country now, which is America, why Biden is saying we're fighting for our soul, is divided over who will win, the nationalists or the globalists. If let me put it this way, because I used to say a little thing, all Republicans may not be Klan and racist, but usually all races and Klan are Republicans. See, people used to laugh, but you won't laugh about it now because you can see it as clearly as day. But let me say this. This crowd that's following Trump, that's talking about the founding fathers, they want to reestablish the republic, not a democracy, a republic.
Right.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which the flag stands, not a democracy. Two different things. We have to decide what these things are and where we stand in them. Let me just say this, that in a republic, particularly the Plato's republic, there is room for slavery. It's a part of the republic. Not the kind we experienced, I don't imagine, but slavery is slavery. All right. They are interested in reestablishing the republic. Half of this country And while we're playing with globalism, either we better get serious with it or address this, because they have never forgotten the eternal war that's going on in this country between them and the so-called Indians. Who are you? They're just now starting to paint the Indians the true color. Now, on YouTube and other places, these are the colors of these black and white Indians. It's you! Same you! They have taken your land, tricked you, all of us, into thinking we're from Africa. You're not going back to Africa. The Africans aren't really calling you back. So that means this is not your land. You're not from Africa. You are landless, therefore powerless. The reason why you were not included into these documents, because it says not life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I pursue happiness every day. I make my own happiness. I don't be sad. I don't care what the situation is. God is in my soul. Hallelujah right there. Okay, but let me say this. It's life, liberty, and property. Do your research. You can Google and fact check me right while I'm speaking. It was originally life, liberty, and property. So how is property going to own property? They're playing with these words. So these people who stormed the Capitol are interested in setting back this republic. They are of the rich ilk. They're not interested in what the natives, the nations of the Iroquois, the natives gave them, which is the Constitution. Look at that preamble real carefully. Why does it say we the people? All capital letters. That's a noun. That's a proper noun. We the people of the United States. So do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. We can't see that those are two different entities in the preamble. We're giving you a Constitution that you might trade with us. And they turn fork tongue. I'm gonna stop right there.
Whew. My brain is about to explode, Dr. Massey. That's powerful. And to all the folks out there viewing, watching, get you a copy of the Constitution.
Please.
And study it and read it and look at the cases of the words and look at the usage of the language, and all of this is lawyerly talk. All of this is official stuff. You know, it's like how Jesus would tell a parable and say, those with ears, let them hear. Those with eyes, see this. Because it's on different levels. You know, we say it's levels to this thing. You know,
there
so
you go.
On the ground level, it's flag waving and, you know, say, can you see? But this is lawyerly language that's at work, that's setting up structures, systems that people operate and work from. And when you don't get that, you get caught up in, oh, say, can you see? And all of the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness type stuff, which we, as Dr. Massey said, we can be happy. We don't need that written down for us to be able to have that. Now, and also to the point, I don't know if anybody out there watching, there was a scene, to Dr. Massey's point, in an old movie now. This kind of dates me a little bit because it's still kind of in the awareness of my mind. Old movie though, it had a lot going on, but it was Gladiator. And there's a scene in there when the emperor comes back. He had killed his dad. He comes back though, and as he's walking up the steps, they're talking about how the government is going to be run. So these are senators talking as the emperor's walking up the steps, and he turns to one and says, "Which one are you for? Are you for a republic, or are you for having an emperor?" And so they're having this debate, and that's what's going on in America. A republic, which is how that Greek Roman society was set up, on a republic where they very much had slaves that were very much a part of society, that had a whole caste, if you will, of people that operated in that role, and that was their station. But it was not frowned upon. It was the natural state of things. Even the Bible that we read talks about various aspects of slavery that are not like the slavery that we're talking about, that black folk have been inflicted with on these shores. So all of this is at play in your Constitution, people.
Yes.
Readers are leaders. You got to read. You got to know what we're talking about. Now, Fields, I need you to help us as we kind of move along through some of what we're talking about here. Now, time is waning. Oh my God, time flies when you are having freedom talk, and so so we have this idea of Abraham Lincoln, the great emancipator. The stories told of how as the Civil War is raging, which, come on, black folk, if you got any sense, it wasn't about setting free these people in the way that you think. It was about preserving the Union. And so Lincoln, the great emancipator, painted so beautifully in many movies and whatnot, as if he just had a heart of gold as it related to humankind and wanting to set these poor little niggas free. That wasn't what he was really about. And so in the midst of the Civil War fields, he has in some black leaders, and they come to the White House, and he had just Lincoln hired the secretary of, or I can't remember his title, but it was immigration, not IMMIGRATLN, EMMIGRATLN, immigration with an E, and the conversation is about not these black folk being a part of this America that would come on the other side of this war being fought. He said, after we fight this war, we want to put y'all on a boat so y'all can leave here, which Dr. Massey said. And so the brothers that met with him said, we ain't going nowhere. This is our country. What are you talking about?
That's right.
And so they get the fact that this is our America. We don't want to go back to Africa. We don't know nobody in Africa. We know that that's perhaps where we got some connection there, but we can't go back there and establish ourselves. We know in history that Marcus Garvey and others talked about the Black Star Line, the possibility of that from another perspective. But these brothers talked about this whole gathering of black men who said, we're not going to Africa because we see this place as our country, and how that now plays out in the fact that we are a people here that is as Dr. Matt said, is landless in a way, that doesn't have the ability to leave and doesn't have the wherewithal in terms of ownership to really be the power brokers that we're designed to be. So I think what we're saying is we got to be landowners. We got to move into this area of recognizing where real power comes from. It's not in necessarily, and I'm with it, and I'm down for all of it. Protesting, I'm with it. I'm down for the struggle, absolutely. The march is going on, count me in. But that's not going to change these lawmakers. You can march till your feet are tired, but it's what happens on these documents and this legislation that guides how the country moves. And unless we start playing that game, unless we get into those halls of power, until we start dealing with that type of stuff, we're just going to be having these Black History Month marches and history remembrances forever. Dr. Fields, I need you to speak on that and help us understand this whole dynamic that's at play.
Well, first, let me say something about January 6th. So January 6th,
okay,
the white violence we saw in January 6th is the DNA of America, because those folks who rioted at the Capitol are the progeny of our founding fathers. The founding of this country was a violent exercise. Think about today if the United States sent some folks to one of their territories and said, you can live there, you can set up shop there. And then those people turned around and told the President of the United States, we're not paying you taxes, and this is our land. We would slaughter those people. Our military would come in and wipe those people out. That's how the United States started. This was thievery. These were a group of people who came here and took from the British Crown. So the violence we saw in January 6th is part and parcel of the American story. White violence has always been used to prop up white supremacy. That rally on January 6th wasn't about Trump. It wasn't about the Republican Party. It wasn't about the election. It was about white supremacy.
Yeah.
That these are people who feel as though this is theirs and we will never be a part of it. It's why you heard a lot of them say, we built this. That's part of the lie. No, you didn't. We built this, right? You just benefited from what we built. But let's get to Lincoln. So Lincoln holds this meeting in the White House, trying to convince some black leaders that's in your best interest that you go back to Africa. Because Lincoln always knew that white existence and black people were incompatible. He believed that. So his idea was, we'll do this war, I'll reunite the country, but I want to make sure that we get rid of these black people. And so part of what these black leaders told him was like, go where? Like, this is our home. Like, the only thing we know is America. And that, yes, Africa holds some meaning to us, but this is the place that we were born, this is the place that we built, and we're not going anywhere. And so you have to look at that moment. My great-great-grandfather was a Civil War veteran. He fought in the Union Army. His name is on the National Memorial in Washington, D.C. There were black people who were trying to tell this country at the time of the Civil War, hey, like, it's time. We need to reconcile this issue of who's really American. And that's what offends white people, because we had the audacity to lay claim to something that they believe that they created. They didn't create it, we created it. And so today you see this resentment built up because honestly, we're not supposed to be here. We're not supposed to be in the positions that we are. We're not supposed to be in leadership. We're not supposed to be in Congress. We were never supposed to be in the White House or sit on the Supreme Court. None of these institutions were designed to include us or to vote. And so when you start looking at America, and I would encourage people, not only read the Constitution, you have to read the Federalist Papers. You have to read the notes to the Constitutional Convention, because that's all the conversation that was being had. There was 2 years of conversation before they got to create the Constitution, because you had these white men trying to figure this out. And in those notes to the Constitution, there is some honesty about slavery, because some of them are acknowledging, yeah, we know this is wrong. We know it's immoral. We know it's against God. But you know what? It's good for us because it creates the wealth we're going to need in this country. So it's not like they didn't know that it was wrong. They knew it, they accepted it, and as long as it worked for them, they were okay with it. Fast forward to today. So the reason why you see this resentment, particularly around this election, is because we exercised a right that was never intended for us. When you saw how certain states were attacked, whether it was Michigan or whether it was Georgia, it's because those were black votes. And folks understood that those were black votes that were significant in this election. So we need to understand, and the point of property is one of the most important parts, right? We were declared property. Like we were not human beings, we were property. Because in the minds of the founders of this country, what mattered most was property. And so when you look at the original draft of the Constitution and we start talking about voting and congressional representation, what did they do? Well, they're property, but we're going to make them 3/5 of a person because we need their numbers for our political power. We have always been used in that way to enlarge the wealth of white America. And so what we need to realize today is that we have to change the narrative ourselves. We have to begin doing some things, whether it's owning property, building financial institutions, that we haven't really done in the past. Voting is important, without a doubt. But in America, property rights reign supreme. It's why a local government can look at your property and declare by eminent domain that we want it, and they'll take it from you. Because property is the basis of this corporation we call America. And so I think we need to understand the history continues. And this is why the 1619 Project is so important, because we often fall prey to the false narrative ourselves. We often look at the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Star-Spangled Banner, and we have ourselves held these moments and we've revered these moments. When the fact of the matter is, we should all be celebrating the fact that from 1619 to 2021, it's black people who have defined America. And it's black people who are going to define its future. So when Doc talks about globalism, the biggest fear in this country is that black people will realize that America is not it for us. That there is something bigger. There is a global presence of black and brown people. We are not a minority. We are the majority.
Yes, sir.
And so until we have a majority mindset, until we understand that, yeah, we can have a connection to the motherland, but the connection should be an economic connection. There is power in Africa, right? And so when we begin to understand how we redefine who we are as Americans, then America is going to become what it really should be. And we're going to be at the front of the table. We're going to be at the seat of the table. And so, I say, hey, let's keep having these conversations, because at some point we have to wake up and we have to realize that our time is now.
That's it.
Man, y'all are over here killing me, man. I mean, this what I get the Holy Ghost on. This would make me this would make me speak in tongues. I mean, this kind of talking right here is what gives me hype, brother. You preaching good this morning, my brother. Both of you guys, man, that's powerful stuff. Let me just lift this out of what Sister Nicole talks about in this book to these very points. She says there is no mention of slavery in the final Declaration of Independence. Similarly, 11 years later, when it came time to draft the Constitution, framers carefully constructed a document that preserved and protected slavery without ever using the word. It said because they did not want to explicitly enshrine their hypocrisy. Goes on to say the Constitution, here it is, protected the property of those who enslaved black people, prohibited the federal government from intervening to end the importation of enslaved Africans for a term of 20 years. These are specific numbers that they're talking about here. Allowed Congress to mobilize the militia, that's why they love these guns, to put down insurrections by the enslaved or the people that they're labeling enslaved, and forced states that had outlawed slavery to turn over enslaved people who had run away seeking refuge. So the government is in the midst of all of this defining of who's who gets what, who's included, who's in this group. These are categories of how we are supposed to operate. And when you step outside of this construct, when you pull yourself out of the matrix, so to speak, if you've seen that movie, I love these references. But when you pull yourself out of the matrix and see what's really going on, as Field says, and Dr. Farad says, you begin to know that this thing y'all have been talking about, America, is my people are bigger than this. We control really all of this if we would ever wake up. And so white folk, which is why they're pushing back against this. This is why they don't want this taught in schools. Because when you start, that's why Tom Cotton and those of his ilk have presented legislation so this cannot be taught or funded by the government in our public schools, which, by the way, came to be because of Reconstruction and black folk wanting people to be educated. White folk didn't have no education. They didn't need to learn nothing. The rich ones got educated in other places. But in Reconstruction, we saw that public education became a thing. But this is why they don't want this taught. Because when we wake up and take our place and realize who we really are, then all of this stuff, that these games that they're playing with us, they'll realize that we are really the ones who are calling the shots. And so, guys, our time is waning. I think we got to prepare ourselves to go. It's almost 11 o'clock. We could do this all day. We've got about 5 minutes. But, Mom, I want you to close us out or give us just some thoughts on how this whole conversation about the 1619 Project, this whole DNA of this country, who we are as a nation, who we're trying to be as a nation, responsibility of the Black church in all of this. What is our role? How are we going to become the mobilizing agent that will help us rise up to understand our true place in this world? I want you to speak to kind of the larger, kind of sum things up for us. I know that's kind of a big question, a grand question, and we'll hear some parting words by all of our guests today before we go. But I want you to set it off and give us a round of kind of closing remarks, and then we're gonna go to, guys, we're gonna close out. Don't log off. We're gonna have the Black National Anthem. We're gonna lift that up, and we're gonna do a really what I think will be useful little competition that's gonna bless you, and we wanna be a blessing to you as we come on the other side of these comments. So, Mom, I want you to set it off. Then I want Dr. Fields to help us again put all of this in context for what's next for us as a people. And then Dr. Barad, I want you to give us some closing words, and then we'll go to our closing selection and we'll be out of here. Mom, it's on you.
Well, thank you. I don't want to take much time because I'm enjoying our guests so very much. I appreciate the fact that Nicole Hannah Jones had the strength to tell the truth about America. And I think it's time for us to say what we know and not stop pretending that we don't really see what's going on, because many of us do. I was very happy to hear Brother Fields mention this corporation called America.
Woo.
And the reason is because I heard that a long time ago from a young man who is our guest today also, when he used to say that America was a corporation. And everybody was looking like, he's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But the more I look at this country since then and now, I know that that is exactly what it is. Mm. And so, Brother Fields, you brought back memories when you said that one word that Brother Fred has been hammering into our heads for a long, long time. And as far as property goes, I'm looking at Baltimore right now, and gentrification and people being moved somewhere else out of their homes and all that kind of thing, and remembering the redlining during the Great Migration. And if people bought property in certain areas, their homes were burned or they were run out of the community. And there are some real stories about that we don't have time to look at. But yes, property does determine a lot. And even we talked earlier about how transportation and where the roads are and how they're structured, and all of that has to do with property. And so we do have a lot to do in terms of understanding what we need to really claim our place in this society. And we know that the fear that is exhibited has to do, as I said, with us finally getting strong enough and getting enough power to speak to them, and they see that by not too far in the future, that the dominant culture is going to be those that are now called the minority culture.
Awesome stuff. I love it. Powerful. Great words. Dr. Fields, Brother Fields.
Well, look, 1619 was no mistake. And it was no mistake for a different reason than I think most people believe. Black people are the divinely appointed people who have been set here to make America real. I believe that no other group of people could survive 400 years of what we survived if did not have the hand of God upon us. It is our mission, it is our purpose to make this land what others claim it is. So we need to understand that, we need to accept that, and we need to acknowledge who we really are. We may be in the wilderness, but it's our job, it's our responsibility to make this the promised land. And so I'm excited when I hear these conversations because I think it's time that we understand the strength of our people and the fact that the very existence of the United States of America depends upon us and no one else.
Thank you, my brother. Powerful, man. If you're viewing this today, we post this. This is a conversation that everybody needs to be hearing. This is, this whole virtual digital space is comes with its challenges, but this is blessing us because, the stuff that we typically shout about and lose our mind over, that's good and it has its place, and that's a part of our story and a part of who we are as a people. But that's the stuff we need to be shouting about: land owning, property, knowledge, legislation, building, birthing, all those types of things. Our place, our role, our divine assignment here. We're not just here to spin our wheels or to complain about what we don't have or can't get. We got all we need. Black folk, if we could get together, stop letting folk divide us, stop letting minor differences throw us off, different faith traditions, different lifestyles, all that kind of stuff. Those are distractions. Those are wedge issues that the larger society, the land owning class, use to pit folk who ain't got nothing against each other or who don't think they have anything. That's why those folk who stormed the Capitol, those are the foot soldiers of the landowners who feel their worth is in the fact that they're better than niggas. They don't got nothing either. They would benefit so much from this, the legislation that they hate to support. King said it when he was talking to the jailer when he was in the Birmingham jail. Said, brother, with your package, you ought to be marching with us. You ain't got nothing either. You ought to be on our side because the folk who got everything got us squabbling for the crumbs on the table. If we ever realize that us as a people, our differences are so small, really in the big picture, we could ever put those aside and realize where our true power is. We could really change and turn this country into what it ought to really be. And the forces that don't want that, that's the agitation that's taking place. That's the tension that's going on right now in our country. Dr. Massey, take us out with something that can help us, again, put this whole thing in context.
First of all, I thank everybody for filling my soul with such powerful wisdom. And based on what you've just said, and Brother Phil's, that he picked up on Reverend Lula Williams, America's secret destiny, spiritual vision, and the founding of a nation. Point being, they use and still use metaphysics. We are the greatest metaphysicians. That's how come Martin King can talk about, I've been to the mountaintop. Well, literally, actually he had visited Israel. But we understood it metaphysically. We speak metaphysically. That's the idea. We make the idea a reality metaphysically. I went to both Tokyo and Seoul, making the argument that the Koreans were not the people of the book because the Japanese held them in slavery for 40 years. I said, no, you can't do it. Why? Because Genesis 15:13-15 says, know of a surety, your seed will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and they shall serve them 400 years. No other group on the face of the planet can claim the 400 years. So let me just stop a minute and thank God for Donald John Trump, because in his ignorance, he signed the executive order. Not so much that we should get anything, but this great nation has etched in stone now that this 400-year period belonged to us. And they don't, this is what's scaring everybody else. The simple next verse. Because when you read the world that the slaveholders built, they use theology. They use metaphysics. They use the occult. They use religion. So in order for us to destroy the lie with truth, we better use what we know, the spiritual powers from the maker on high. Because he said in 14, and also, that's what they don't want to know, that nation whom they serve will I judge. You can't see the hand of y'all judging this nation right now. You don't know how he works. So when you said this is ours, I'm telling people, let them gentrify. Let them build. Because they're fixing it up for us. We're going to get all of it. He said, you will come out with great substance. All we have to do when Biden drops the law, the policy that says, I'm finished, that says, okay, it has to be some affordable housing in there. And then here come us, Ray and Bobo, Shaniqua and us, all us and them, they gone. It's ours. Okay, I'll stop. But know when you have it good. All he requires us to do, love each other. We don't need the white man to tell us to love each other. We don't need a legislation to tell us to love each other. Just love each other. And watch how the world changes. Watch how the universe changes.
Preach.
Hallelujah. And I thank my Lord.
Yo, I'm telling you, this is so major. This is blessed. I know the comments section is on fire. People are being blessed by this. And this guy who out there listening was just a good faith effort to help us begin to connect some of these dots so that our kind of disjointed way of looking at our plight will begin to start making better sense to us, so that we can stand on the truth of the founding of this country. Bible tells us the truth shall make you free.
Hallelujah.
You know that. When you recognize your place in it, it gives you the power to rise above it and to move it forward. And I love it. That's right. All of the spoil shall be laid up for us. And so I give God glory and praise. That's what we ought to be shouting about, black folk. Now we about to go out and get out of here and let you enjoy the rest of your day. But like I said, we don't come here again just to hear ourselves talk. This is freedom talk. And this is about liberation and freedom of a people that may not be bound with chains, but have chains on our minds and chains on our aspirations and chains on our ambitions and chains on our hopes, and have limited our outlook to narrow places where they say we should fit, instead of realizing that we are the dominant group that really should be driving the direction of this whole globe, the whole world, in fact. And so we're going to leave you out of here. And I want to drop off these. Our History and Justice Committee has been working on some of this, and this is some of the beginning of it. But we're putting together what are called the 7 B's of community action. 7 B's, letter B, 7 B's of community action. The first B that we want to put out there for you good people is to beseech. First B word is beseech. That means to pray. Commit to grow spiritually. Join us, if you're not already connected, join a socially conscious, culturally affirming, and theologically empowering church. It's what Black folk need to be doing. That starts there. We talked about the metaphysical nature of who we are as a people. We are a spiritual people. And so all Black folk need to beseech, to pray, to find a community where you can be mobilized. Our European and Caucasian brothers and sisters, we got love for them in a certain kind of way. But if you're connected to a church that is not, when issues happen, if they're not proactive about speaking to your plight, you don't really have a place in that church. So you need, if you didn't see the special on the Black church, you need to review that. But the Black church is our power. And for us to turn from that, no matter how affluent or how high we rise or how advanced we think we are or how foul we even think the church is, every church ain't foul. And so if yours isn't, join it, find one that is, find one that is doing it right. And for God's sake, don't be a part of a church that's not affirming you, that's not on your side when things of consequence happen to our community. Second B is boycott. That means any business that does not invest in our communities or that benefits from the prison industrial complex, you need to be boycotting those businesses. You need to be aware of that. You need to be doing, we need to be creating lists of companies that we will not support. We're talking about property and money and dollars. They are what move this country, not your sentiments, not your marching. Where you put your dollars is what matters. So if a business isn't about what you are concerned about and our people are helped by, you need to be boycotting. You need to not be spending your dollars there. Thirdly, bank. You need to bank. That means take all personal, business, church money out of white banks, put them in Black banks. You need to be starting that process. Again, we're talking about wealth building, nation creating, finances. Yes, we shout on Sunday, but we need to be banking responsibly so that we can build up our neighborhoods. Fourth B is buy. Buy. That means support Black-owned businesses and retailers that partner in the lifting up of our communities. We typically shout out a Black business on this show, every episode we do. And this show's recipient of that shout out comes by way of Dr. Farad, who shared with us the Black Coffee Company at the top of the show. What's the name of that coffee roastery again, Dr. Farad?
Golden Cup.
Golden Cup. We're going to follow up with you, get that information so we can post this. And so just like you are making them your primary coffee source, we want to get in on that too and help to bolster that business. So buy. 5 is build. All right. That means to commit our resources to invest financially and otherwise in starting Black-owned businesses and concerted initiative to build up our community. So we need to be raising up generations of entrepreneurs, of those who own things. That, again, we're talking about ownership and property and decision-making and not being owned, being able to call shots, being able to have the agency to make choices. So, yes, build. 6 is body. Become a disciplined, physically fit, and healthy people trained in self-defense, nutrition, and survival. We need to get back. That's who we are. That's what we used to do. We used to know how to do things. We used to know how to survive. If Wi-Fi went out now, half of us would know how to how to manage. We would know what to do if the lights went out. Like the folk in Texas, God, we're praying, continue to pray for them, and all they are going through and dealing with even still. But when you don't have, and what that white politician, one of the mayors down there said, he said, the government isn't here for you. We're not here to help you. If you can't provide for your own, then that's your responsibility. Now, I hate the callousness with which he spoke, but there is some truth in the fact that we do need to be more self-sufficient and not so reliant upon these things that keep us from being able to provide for ourselves. We need to know how to plant things and grow things. We used to know how to medicate ourselves through what we ate. We used to plant the right things to eat. But again, when you are immersed and socialized in a culture that's not your own, you take on the habits of those who dominate and they're not always good for you. So we need to be able to take care of our bodies. And lastly, the 7B is birth. Bring forth an indispensable new generation of children that will be educated in our own schools to excel in the fields of vocational and technical expertise, to lead our people in a world, in crafting a world that cannot exist without our knowledge. We, again, need to recognize who we are, our place in this society, and build on those B's. And I believe that we'll be a better people for it. So thank you guys for watching. We're about to get out of here. We're going to leave you with the Black National Anthem. And on the other side of it, we got a contest. So hang in there with us, because we want you to take part in just a little fun thing before we go our separate ways. So we're going to bring on our song now. So prepare your hearts for the Bauman Gilead's rendition. I think it's the Grace Baptist Church in Mount Vernon. I think that's singing the music, but the visuals are awesome. So come on and watch this and take part in the singing of the Black National Anthem. Man, that thing messes me up every time I hear it. I'm trying to not be too emotional right now. Um, but we that's such a powerful statement, and the visuals are powerful. What we want you to do, and I think somebody's ahead of us, and we might already have a winner. We were gonna, we want to just do, and we'll maybe do this in parts at other shows, but we wanted to have a small little contest to see who could name the most people in this video. And we probably want to take it in sections because I think all told it's probably about 100 or so people. So we're going to redo the first stanza of this song. And as you can identify people in the song, we want you to put them in the comment section. I see Sister Boxdale we may already have a winner, but we're still we're gonna go through the process anyway, because I think she may be our winner. But it's useful to do. And now we're just gonna do the first stanza, and there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, about 25 or so people. And whoever can get the most of those, we're gonna have not anything too major, but a nice little gift for you. We give these away often, but this is a Penn Ave mug and a Penn Ave t-shirt. And if you are the winner, we will make sure it gets to you either by mail, or if you are connected to the church, we'll just give it to you. But if we need to mail it to you, we will do that. So we're going to run that first stanza again. Give us those names. On the other side of it, we're going to be out of here, and you can be about your day. All right, let's run it, Miss Producer. All right. So should be about 25 of those in there. There are also some important scenes that are captured, but we're going to do our best to give you the 25 or so folk that we were able to identify. And whoever's the closest to that list, we're going to bless you with a small parting gift. So I think the first person we saw was Harriet Tubman. You guys got that one? All right. Frederick Douglass, I think, was number 2. I think we had a scene of the Buffalo Soldiers, if I'm not mistaken. Then we had Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois. Then I think we had Marcus Garvey. I want to say that was a picture of the Niagara movement. I think Du Bois is in the middle of a large group of people. Then you got, I believe, Paul Robeson. Then you got Marian Anderson. And then you have Mahalia Jackson. That next person, I'm not quite sure. I think it was a person before we got to Langston. Was that County Cullen, perhaps? Think that was County Cullen. Okay. County Cullen, then Langston Hughes. Zora Neale Hurston, I believe, was wearing the hat. Then the next person, I got a question mark before Duke Ellington. Does anybody know who that brother was? He had kind of the hair to the side, had the part in the middle. Anyhow, that's one we may need to review. Then we got Duke Ellington. I think we got some brothers from the Fruit of Islam, and then I think we have the Tuskegee Airmen viewed as well. Then we got Jesse Owens, Jackie Robinson, Mary McLeod Bethune, and the last person in that first stanza is Thurgood Marshall. So I think that's with the exception of a couple folk who we got. And based on our comment section, see Portia Jacobs, you did really good here as well. Brother Fisher got Cab Calloway, all right. Frederick, yep. Valerie Barksdale, I think is probably even though the order would have been a little better, but I think you came out ahead, Sister Barksdale. So we're gonna this week's winner will be Sister Valerie Barksdale, who happens to be our director of worship and arts here, oversees our dance ministry, Daughters of Zion, and the our young dancers and all that good stuff. And she's going to be our winner. So we're going to make sure you get this, Sister Barksdale, and we'll be at it next time. We don't only have to sing the Black National Anthem in February. So we will perhaps make this a part of the show, and it'd be useful for you to have some knowledge of the folk who popped up on that video. So we're about to be out of here, good people. God bless you, and thank you for your time. Again, we want to thank Dr. Farad Masael. We want to thank Brother Walter Fields, and we want to thank Queen Mother, Reverend Lula G. Williams, for being a blessing to us on today. God bless you all for taking time out of your Saturday morning for a little coffee and conversation, where we were able to get woke together. Praise God. And we'll be at it every other week. So second and fourth Saturdays is when we do this. And I'm very tempted to make these brothers, we might just make this the show every week. The Lord. Amen. But yeah, awesome show today. Thank you guys for watching. We're out of here. I guess we'll end with a word of prayer and let all go about their day. Dr. Massey, will you close us out with a word of prayer?
Baruch Atayo, Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, eternal Father, thou who art the King of the universe, and thou who art our Lord. Thank you for this ministry. Thank you for all who are involved. Thank you for elevating our consciousness constantly, that ultimately we might see your divine spirit at work in this world. Bless our movement. Bless all people. Bless this planet. Let justice rule, and let righteousness reign. And we do ask this, B'Shem Yahushua, in the name of Jesus, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. God bless you, good people. Thank you all for your time. Have a good rest of your day. Love and freedom. We're out of here.
Hallelujah.